fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-Yo Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. The stories of his strength and courage, his daring and resourcefulness have come down to us through the generations. And nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver! Faster, boy, faster! I'll Silver! Away!
Banion's Creek was too deep and swift running to ford. This suited Brian Banion because it isolated him from the ranchers and townsmen to the north. He looked on his neighbors with disdain. They, in turn, looked wistfully at Banion's side of the creek, comparing the lush fields with their own impoverished rangeland. They would have given a lot to feed their undernourished cattle on the rich grass beyond the stream. Some tried to make this possible and failed. Jim Herkimer tried harder than all the others put together, and that was strange because Jim owned no cattle. Jim Herkimer owned a newspaper. He was generally in the office when Miss Polly arrived. But one morning he was nearly 30 minutes late. Miss Polly was reading copy when he arrived. She saw at a glance that Jim Herkimer had heard the news.
Miss Polly! Miss Polly! What do you think?
Oh, Mr. Herkimer.
The boys in town giving me a banquet next week. A birthday banquet. And there'll be a cake with 60 candles.
So you've heard about it.
60 candles, mind you. Why, did you know about it?
Well, yes, sir.
Miss Polly.
The boys were checking on your birthday.
And you didn't tell me. You, Miss Polly, in whom for 20 years I've put my trust. And you didn't tell me.
27 men said they'd cancel their subscriptions to the newspaper if I told you.
When did you learn about the banquet?
A month ago.
A month ago?
Yes, when you closed the deal to sell your newspaper.
He who said a woman can't keep secrets didn't know women.
The men wanted to show their appreciation for your efforts to do something about Brian Banion. So they planned a banquet for the day you retire.
Oh, bless them.
When they heard that your birthday falls on the same day, well, they decided to surprise you with a birthday cake.
Well, I may have a few surprises up my sleeve.
You?
That's right. Now, let me dust off this chair. I'm expecting an important visitor.
Oh, your handkerchief. Wait, I'll get a cloth.
No, this is all right.
Where did you hear about the banquet?
Over at the bank. I stopped there to draw out some cash. Put this in the drawer, will you, Miss Polly?
What are you going to do with all this money?
Give it to Mr. Thorndyke.
Who's he?
The smartest lawyer I could find. I had him come all the way from St. Louis to look into the Banion situation.
At your own expense?
Yes.
But why spend all that money? Banion's a hopeless case.
Because, Miss Polly, I made Brian Banion what he is.
You?
Yes. You see, Banyan came here fired with a great idea. He imported Brahma cattle from India, planning to develop a new superior breed. And I, thinking myself a young crusader, wrote an editorial. I scoffed at the notion that Hindu cattle could improve our Texas stock.
Oh, I never knew that.
All the cattlemen took their cue from me, and they laughed at Banyan. But he went right ahead.
And he succeeded. He did develop a superior breed.
The finest in the land. Now every rancher wants to improve his stock with Brahma cattle. But Banyan won't let him. He's having his revenge. He'll sell for food, but he won't sell living cattle. He's going to make his breed of Brahma cattle extinct.
And he's the same about the pasture south of the creek. He can't use all of it, but he won't let anyone else use it.
Because of what I wrote, every rancher north of the creek has had to suffer since the pasture land ran out.
But you can't make Banyan change.
You wait, Miss Polly. I'm trying a new method. I'm going to fix things for the cattlemen. You'll see.
Well, you can't make Banyan sell his stock.
Maybe not, but, Miss Polly, I think something can be done about the rangeland. Mr. Thorndyke! Well, here's the man I've been waiting for.
Well, good morning, Herkimer.
Hello, Thorndyke. This is Miss Polly.
How do you do,
Mr.
Miss Polly?
Thorndyke.
Sit down here, Thorndyke. Oh, I'll bet you've had a busy week checking all the land records and things.
A very busy week.
Well, your cash is all ready for you. If you need more, I'll have it when I get paid for my newspaper.
Herkimer, let me ask you something. Why are you so anxious to put a bridge over Banyan's Creek?
Banyan says he won't let the cattlemen bridge the creek so they can pasture where the grass is good on the south side. Oh, but it's too long a story to go into. But I'm to blame for the refusal.
You?
Yes, and I've tried for years to undo some harm I did.
I see.
I haven't been able to change Banyan, and my time is short. That's why I brought you here. I want to know where we stand legally. What can be done by the process of law?
Well, in the first place, Banyan doesn't own that land. It's open range.
There! That's what I wanted to be sure of.
You have a legal right to build a bridge.
Miss Polly, did you hear that? Oh, what news that'll be for my friends. I had a hunch that Banyan was bluffing us. I'll have a surprise up my sleeve. I'll do something worthwhile before I retire.
One moment, Herkimer.
What?
It may take years.
Years?
Years and a lot of money. I've talked to Banyan. He's a peculiar man.
I know he is.
He'll fight to the bitter end. There'll be injunctions and restraining actions. Why, the litigation might drag on indefinitely.
But you just said...
There are many ways to delay the bridge, and Banyan knows them all.
Oh.
My advice to you, Herkimer, is this. Forget it.
Forget it?
Banyan has a fortune from selling the highest quality of beef. He'll spend it all to retain his isolation.
You mean that there's no chance?
It would take years, and the cost would be prohibitive.
Oh, Mr. Herkimer, I'm sorry.
All these years of hoping.
Hey, Jim! Miss Polly,
What?
look out here!
What is it?
Banyan's in town!
It was a rare occasion when Brian Banyan came to town for supplies. He came with a caravan of 5 heavy wagons drawn by sleek, well-fed horses. Sam Hawkins, owner of the store, watched with interest as the wagons halted outside. Dan Reed, standing at his side, was also keenly interested.
Is that Mr. Banyan in the first wagon?
Yep. His foreman, Farnsworth, is sitting on the right. The critter holding the reins is Squint Larkin.
Golly, Mr. Hawkins, I've heard a lot about Mr. Banyan. I guess everyone knows about his Brahma cattle.
If I get the chance, I'll introduce you. What'd you say your name was?
Dan Reed.
Well, here he comes now. You stay right there next to the counter.
All right.
Well, Mr. Banyan, welcome back to town.
Good morning, Hawkins.
You must have left your ranch before sunup to get here in town before noon, huh?
I did, yes.
You know, Mr. Banyan, if there was a bridge over that creek...
What? You too? There will be no bridge over the creek.
If there was a bridge, you could get here to town in half an hour or less instead of 5 or 6 hours. You wouldn't have to go all the way around the creek.
A bridge would benefit you people. It would make my pasturage accessible to all cattle.
But you wouldn't be so cut off from everyone.
I prefer things as they are.
But, Mr. Banyan, if you was to need help...
When I need help, I hire it.
I mean, you might have trouble with Indians, or your place might take fire, or maybe rustlers.
Here's a list of my requirements, Hawkins. You'll notice an unusually large purchase of guns and ammunition in case of Indians or rustlers, or anyone who tries to build a bridge.
Yes, sir.
I'll be back to pay you. My men will help you load.
Oh, Mr. Banyan, this here is Dan Reed.
How do you do, Mr. Banyan? I've heard a lot about you.
I dare say.
I met some men near the border who bought some of your Brahma cattle.
What's that?
The ranchers south of here spoke of you. The ones that bought your cattle.
You're mistaken. I haven't sold and don't intend to sell my livestock. I'll be back, Hawkins.
A short time later, Dan Reed raced from the store and leaped to the saddle.
Come on, Victor!
He was out of town in less than a minute, and in the Lone Ranger's camp in less than 5.
Ho, boy, ho, Victor, ho.
In few words, Dan told the masked man what he'd heard.
That's exactly what was said.
Dan, did you meet Brian Banyan?
Yes, and he said he did not sell his cattle.
Me hear same thing in town. Banyan never sell.
Then what did those men buy?
Is Banyan still in town, Dan?
I guess so. He has to stay there until his wagons are loaded.
Here, Silver.
Banyan claims he didn't sell. We talked to men who said he did. How can both be right?
Both can't be right. I'm going to talk to Banyan. Come on, Silver.
While Banyan's wagons were being loaded, Banyan sat alone on the porch of the hotel. That is, he was alone until the masked man joined him. He eyed the Lone Ranger coldly.
I don't care to talk to anyone. Least of all, a masked man.
Banyan, men near the border have contracted for your cattle.
I'm not selling my cattle. Now leave me alone.
Someone drew up contracts for you. The men who sold the Brahma stock expect to make delivery.
How can they?
The only way they can deliver is by stealing the cattle from you and forcing you to sign a bill of sale.
Oh, I begin to understand. You infer that I'm to be robbed. Is that it?
It's quite possible.
I suppose Jim Herkimer sent you to frighten me into building a bridge, so help could reach me in the event of rustlers.
No, Jim Herkimer did not send me.
But it would make help available if there was a bridge across the creek, wouldn't it?
Of course.
If there was a bridge, I wouldn't be so cut off from everyone if I was to need help.
Why, yes, that's true enough.
The townsmen could cross the bridge and come to my rescue.
Yes, and they probably would.
And if the townsmen didn't need to come to my rescue, the bridge would still be there. So every head of scrawny, worthless cattle could fatten up on my side of the creek.
Oh, I see.
Go and tell Jim Herkimer that it's no use. I won't be frightened by threats of rustling. I'm not fooled by your plan. There'll be no bridge.
Banyan,
You heard me.
Yes, Banyan, I heard you. And you know, I'm sorry for you.
What did he mean by that? Sorry for me. He didn't mean that as a threat. He really was sorry for me. For me. Sorry for Brian Banyan.
That evening, Jim Herkimer was at his desk long after darkness gathered. For over an hour, he'd been deep in thought.
I guess I'm licked. Can't figure any way I can do it. Thorndyke knew what he was talking about. Miss Polly?
No, Jim.
What? Masked? Huh. Oh, you must have heard that I drew a lot of cash from the bank.
I heard that you wanted a bridge across Banyan's Creek.
What about it?
Well, they don't have bridges over the Rio Grande.
Of course not. It's so shallow you can ride across without wetting your boots.
Yet, Jim, there's more water in the Rio than there is in the creek.
Of course there is.
The only difference is that the Rio is wider.
Yes. Yes, it's wider.
Now, if Banyan's Creek was wider, you could probably ride across without wetting your boots.
Say,
I don't think Banyan could stop men who dug dirt on this side of the creek.
by thunder.
I wonder how many men you could muster to dig.
I can muster enough. I can muster all we need.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue our story. After Jim Herkimer listened to the Lone Ranger, he raced from his office and ran to the home of his nearest friend.
Tom, I've got to talk to you, and when I'm through, you've got to help me spread the word.
Tom listened and then hurried to speak to several of his friends.
Hitch up a team to anything that'll carry dirt, and bring any tools you've got for digging.
The word spread through town like wildfire, and from the town to the surrounding ranches. The first men arrived at the north bank of the creek at midnight, and others arrived soon after. The men bent to their work. They loaded wagon after wagon with dirt, then hauled it away and dumped it. The moon disappeared. The gray dawn streaked the eastern sky. The men grew tired and stopped to rest. Others were ready to take their places. Several hours after sunup, Banion's foreman named Farnsworth and a cowhand named Squint rode up the creek to investigate the project on the north bank.
What are they up to anyway, Farnsworth?
I don't know, Squint, but aim to find out.
There's Jim Herkimer over there. He seems to be giving orders.
Hey there. Hey, Herkimer.
Hello there, Farnsworth. How are things on the south pasture?
What do you think you're doing over there?
It's a new idea, Farnsworth. We're expecting to give the cattle better pasture land.
By digging dirt?
Yeah?
You figure on irrigating the land? Is that your scheme?
It's going to be irrigated all right enough.
You'll need more than water to make that land fit for grazing.
You sure will. Well, you can't hold it against the boys for trying.
Go ahead. Break your backs with digging and see if we care.
Come on, Squint.
Right. Get up.
Get up.
Come on.
Get up there.
Herkimer seems to have given up his notion of putting up a bridge.
Yeah. Too bad we can't let him in on our plans, huh? We could save him a lot of worry about pasture.
Yeah. When we get through, you won't have to worry about pasture, land, or Banion, or anything else.
There's Banion now.
Yeah. Wonder what he's riding this way for.
Well, who cares what way he rides?
Well, I sure don't.
Farnsworth, I want to speak to you.
Oh, steady there, steady. Yes, Mr. Banion?
You've just come from my creek.
Yes, Mr. Banion.
What are the cattlemen doing on the north side?
Digging, sir. I guess they're trying to irrigate their land so it'll be better pasture.
Irrigate?
Yes, sir.
So they finally abandoned their notions to build a bridge, eh? They're going to irrigate. Well, that's good. That's good, Farnsworth.
Yes, Mr. Banion.
I dare say my purchases of guns and ammunition let them know that I had sufficient manpower to repel any intrusion and intended to use it.
Yes, Mr. Banion.
So they're going to try to improve that worn-out, worthless pasture. Well, well, now I'm the one to laugh. They laughed at me once, Farnsworth. Now I can laugh at them and their futile efforts. You may go on. Get on with your work.
Yeah, come on,
Get up
Squint.
there.
Get up there.
Come on.
Get up, boy. Like that cantankerous old buzzard. Yes, Mr. Banion. No, Mr. Banion. Yes, Mr. Banion. Curdles my mouth to be as respecting as he demands.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not his foreman. You don't bother to speak to me. I couldn't eat crow like you got to do, Farnsworth.
It won't be much longer, Squint.
You've been saying that for a long time. When do we act?
Tonight.
What? Tonight?
Yeah. Everything's set to move tonight. Close the deal for the Brahma stock and everything is set.
Will it go through all right?
Sure it will. The men near the border took it for granted that I was acting on behalf of Brian Banion. That's just why I wanted to hang on to the job as foreman.
When are we paid?
On delivery. We'll move the Brahma stock tonight.
Well, don't Banion have to sign a bill of sale?
He'll sign it. Then we'll finish him so he can't argue the matter. Chances are it'll be days before anyone knows what's happened to him.
He's made it easy for us by the way he's kept apart from everyone.
Sure he has. By the time he's found, we'll be well into Mexico with the cash. And anyway, his signature will be genuine. Who'll ever question it?
Who'll ever care what happens to Banion or his Brahma stock? Farnsworth, we're doing a good deed when we put the stock into circulation.
Well, you pass the news to the other boys, Squint. Tell them to start herding the cattle just as soon as it gets dark.
The Lone Lone Ranger, Dan, and Tonto sat in their saddles somewhat apart from the men who moved dirt from the side of the creek.
Gonna move plenty dirt.
Yes, Tonto, the creek's already gone down a couple of feet.
It'll go down a couple more before sunset.
I don't know whether or not anything will happen tonight, but if it does, we've got to be ready.
And what we do?
Well, Dan will stay on the north side, Tonto. You and I will cross over as soon as it gets dark.
Ah.
And we'll keep an eye on Banion's cattle.
If trouble not come tonight, maybe it come tomorrow night.
I'm sure it's coming soon, Kimosabe. And when it does, Dan can tell Jim Herkimer.
Ah.
I think he'll do the rest.
Here he comes now.
Him look worried.
Hello, Jim.
Hello there, friend.
I stayed over here because I didn't want the men to wonder about this mask.
I'm wondering about it, but I'm not asking any questions of you. Now, I think the scheme will work. The cattle will be able to cross.
You may have to throw a little dirt against the high bank.
We'll do that. But I think there'll be gunplay.
Why?
When Banion's men see our cattle on the south side of the creek, they'll
Now, don't worry about that, Jim.
Why not?
I don't think Banion's men will shoot any cattle.
Brian Banion spent his evenings in the solitary splendor of his library. He generally read, but after seeing the cattlemen and their efforts with shovels, he found himself far too amused to concentrate on reading.
Irrigating that land. They laughed at me for importing Brahma stock. Well, now I'll laugh. Giving up their ideas of building a bridge. Yeah, they're desperate. Trying anything. Clutching at straw. Yes, who is it?
Just wanted to be sure you were here, Banion. Come on in, Squint.
Farnsworth. You must have come to resign from your job.
Nope. Not that.
I don't like your tone of voice.
Well, ain't that too bad?
When you address me,
Listen
I want...
to me, Banion.
Farnsworth, I demand...
Shut up.
What?
We'll do the talking.
I'm through eating crow for you, Banion.
What's the matter with you? Have you taken leave of your senses?
No. We just got smart, that's all.
I've had enough of this. I'll call in the other men and have you thrown off this ranch. Thrown off bodily.
Go ahead, call them. Call your head off. They won't hear you because they're herding the Brahma stock.
What? I gave no such orders.
I gave the orders.
You?
I gave the orders to herd the stock for delivery south of here. You see, I sold the Brahmans.
What? You sold the
Here, the critter's being moved right now.
Let me see.
Sit down there.
Oh.
Here's a bill of sale for you, Banion. Sign right there.
I'll sign nothing.
We'll change your mind about that.
You'll sign or you'll have a lot of discomfort, Banion. Now, you needn't look around for help.
I tell you, I'll sign...
You saw to it that you were cut off from anyone that might help you. You know the spot you're in. You're no fool.
But, Farnsworth, this...
Sign there or we'll light that candle and see what we can do about persuading you.
Now, look here. If I sign this bill of sale, and what will you do?
Then we'll have all we want.
You'll go away and leave me alone?
Sure.
I'll sign.
Now, that's being smart.
I reckon the critters will pass the house pretty soon. Then we can join the boys.
There you are. There's your bill of sale, Farnsworth.
Thanks. Now I gotta make sure that you don't cancel the deal.
What are you going to do?
Can't you guess?
Put the gun down. You told me
I
if
said we'd leave you alone. You'll be alone, all right, Banion. All alone.
Hey, Farnsworth, there's gunplay outside. Finish Banion off so we can go and see.
Right, I'll...
Drop them, Farnsworth.
Hey, what the...
Fast,
No!
Don't try it, Farnsworth.
I'll show you. Oh, my arm. Help me. They're
You
stealing...
want some more, Farnsworth? Just reach for the other gun.
No. Don't shoot again. They're stealing my cattle.
Take it easy, Banion. Sounds to me as if the fight's all finished.
The fight? Hey, I'm hurt bad.
You can be patched up.
Come on inside, Tonto. We'll see about Banion.
Why, Herkimer.
You all right, Banion?
Yes, but Herkimer,
We heard the rustlers were at your stock, Banion. We come over to stop them.
My own men double-crossed me.
Yeah, but we got them all. All but these two critters. I'll take them with me.
Oh, my arm. But, Herkimer, how did you get here? Who came with you?
Who came? Why, everyone that could ride. We all have to stick together.
But how? You couldn't cross the creek.
Well, you see, Banyan, we started digging to spread water over the north bank.
Yes?
Well, I guess there wasn't water enough to go around because by the time we finished, the creek was only 2 foot deep. We rode across and barely wet our boots.
You rode?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And I was laughing at your efforts.
Well, I guess that just about makes us even. Go on, you two. Get along there. Give me a hand with them, Tonto. Get them outside. We'll turn them into the law for you, Banyan.
You? Mask, but what?
I suppose you have a lot of questions, Banyan. Maybe Jim can answer some of them.
Jim Herkimer. I'd like to see him.
Well, there's to be a birthday dinner for him, Banyan. Why don't you go?
I'd like to thank the men. I didn't think they'd come to help me.
If you go to the dinner, maybe you can persuade Jim to have the bank of the creek rebuilt.
More likely he'd persuade me to sell my Brahma stock.
Why not go to the dinner?
Why not go to the dinner? Well, why not? Why not? Hey, Jim. Jim Herkimer.
What do you want now?
When is that birthday party?
Saturday night.
May I come?
What? You? Well, I should say so. Now, wait till I tell Miss Polly. You come along, Banyan. I'm going to have a cake. A great big cake with 60 candles.
Good.
The story you have just heard is a copyrighted feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated.